I do think that, ASU and Boise in some ways might be, an unprecedented and one-time situation, because I think they're going to change the format pretty darn soon.
John Woolner is the college football insider for the San Jose Mercury News. He made a career out of covering the Pac-12. As Kellan's filling in for Gambo, I think John Woolner is 100% right in that ASU and Boise State both getting the bye by virtue of winning lesser conferences. I think that's going to be a one-and-done thing. I think the winner of the Big 12 will still get in. I think the winner of the Group of Five will still get in. I think that will always be a part of this college football playoffs. But I and Kellan, what triggered the thought was there was on ESPN.com today, the storylines to watch for every 2024 college football bowl game. And what they had for ASU in the Peach Bowl was the same thing they had for Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. Justify the bye. Show us that you've earned this. Show us. It's like Tom Hanks at the end of Saving Private Ryan. Earn this. Earn this. Earn the fact that you got to jump a step and just automatically get seeded in the next round, because there are a lot of people around college football who think that's not going to last, that next year they're just going to seed the teams. If you win your conference, you'll get an automatic bid, but you're not going to get an automatic bye, because that doesn't make for as good of a product. And I think the people who think that are exactly right. I think that is coming to college football next year.
I got to say, I don't agree.
Okay.
Do not agree.
Do not agree.
Now, the reason here is if Boise State loses by 4 touchdowns, Arizona State loses by 3 touchdowns, get some more competitive games in, right? What are you doing? Like, make the games more competitive. Mm-hmm. This is the college football playoff we're talking about, which always has an uncompetitive game every year anyway.
Yes, it does.
You boil it down to 4 teams. I went back 2015 to now. There's been at least one lopsided game in every year. 2015, Oregon 59, Florida State 20. Alabama 38-0 over Michigan State the next year. Clemson 31-0 over Ohio State the next year. Alabama 24-6 over Clemson the year after that. The after that had 2. 2019, Clemson 30, Notre Dame 3. Clemson 44, Alabama 16. LSU 63, Oklahoma 28. I could keep going.
I could do this. You're Captain America. You could do this all day.
I could keep going. So if that is the problem, it is an unavoidable problem, because that is going to happen anyway. If you whittle it down to 4 teams, which you have done in the past, you run into this issue anyway. Like, you land these uncompetitive games. So why not keep this going at least a couple of years? Like, I don't understand the immediate need to fix it like as soon as next year. Like, this is like a one and done kind of situation. Let it play out for a couple of years and see if something does happen. Like, I understand that football is not the sport to basketball, where you have a March Madness aspect to it. Like, we're all rooting on the surprise Davidson or whatever random team is kind of making it through to like the Elite Eight, like George Mason all those years ago or whatever, like Florida Gulf Coast. Like, there's none of that can really happen in football unless it can. Like, I want to see for a couple of years, because it would be awesome to watch Boise State make it to the Natty. It would be awesome to watch Arizona State make it to the Natty. Like, I at least want to see if the possibility is there before we immediately decide this is a bad idea.
Yeah, and I think I don't know how directly tied changing this, it's tied to the results of the game, to your point. Like to your point, if Boise State loses by 4 touchdowns and ASU loses by 3 touchdowns, will college football go, hey, you know what, on second thought, our bad. ASU should have been there, Boise State should have been there, but we never should have given them the bye, and we're not going to do that anymore. I don't know if ASU, look, they're playing for them. They're not playing for the future of the college football playoffs. But I do wonder if the results of those games will speak loudly in terms of the appetite for change and whether there should be. And I think something else that might speak equally to the appetite for change here, there have been many, many, many people who have said that Oregon is the number 1 seed in this whole deal got screwed. They got screwed because their path is harder because of the fact that ASU is here and Boise State is there, and that teams have easier paths to get to the Final Four or even the semifinals, whereas Oregon's got to play Ohio State's. What does Oregon have to play right out of the chute? I'm trying to remember.
Winner of Tennessee and Ohio State.
Okay, there it is. Whereas Texas, they've got to play Clemson and ASU.
I did have this thought when we were looking at bowls and buys and stuff, like with Boise at 4, we were talking about ASU at 12, and I was like, man, if they can just win that game and then get Boise, like they could get through.
And it might be less to do with ASU and do they just deserve a bye because they won the Big 12, or Boise State, do they deserve a bye because they won the Mountain West? And more to do with, are we punishing the number 1 seed by potentially giving the 5th seed this kind of cushier path to get there than Oregon does? I don't know. I just, the fact that this website said justifying the bye, ASU has to justify the bye, Boise State has to justify the bye. What does that look like? Do they have to be competitive? Is being competitive against the winner of Texas Clemson enough for the committee to go, hey, you know what? Let's ride with this a little bit longer. This is good the way we're doing it. Or does ASU have to, or do they just have to not get blown out? I don't know. But people are already talking about that might be the next change to college football's playoff.
Wilner very informed with like the tone that he's bringing. It was just like a whoa, slow down for me. It was like easy. Like it sounds like they're ready to like bail on this already before it's even happened. It's like, well, what happens if one of these two teams wins?
Right.
They're not like 25-point dogs. They're just going to be like 10-point dogs probably.
And you bring up a good point. There's no reason not to. And I think there will be blowouts too in the first round of the playoffs, depending on how this goes.
Yes.
But I think there's going to, you mentioned it, and you're right. There's blowouts in this thing, and I think they're coming.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.